Have you ever woken up one morning, looked in the mirror, and realized you've been living a life that doesn't even feel like yours? You studied what others wanted, worked where others told you, loved who others approved of, and now you're tired, not because of hard work, but because of living someone else's dream. My friends, the biggest mistake is not failing, it's forgetting yourself in the process of pleasing everyone else. Today, let's talk about what it means to live for yourself, not selfishly, but authentically. Because when you live true to your heart, you give the world the best version of you, not the version that others designed. Stop seeking approval, because that's where most people lose themselves. We start so young, don't we? As children, we look for a smile from our parents to feel we did something right. Then, as we grow, we look for a nod from teachers, friends, society, and before we even realize it, our entire life becomes a performance. Every move we make, every word we say, carefully edited to please someone else. But here's the truth: our approval is addictive. The more you get, the more you crave. You start believing that your worth depends on how loudly others clap for you. And one day, you wake up and realize you've built your entire life on someone else's expectations. You studied the subject your parents liked, took the job that looked respectable, married because everyone else was doing it. And yet deep inside, you feel hollow. You see, the danger of seeking approval is that it quietly steals your freedom. It turns your choices into auditions. You start wearing masks just to be accepted. You stop saying what you really feel because you're afraid of being misunderstood. You stop doing what you love because it doesn't look successful enough. And slowly, piece by piece, and you disappear from your own life. When you live for approval, you'll always feel behind, because no matter how much you do, someone will still think it's not enough. You'll exhaust yourself trying to meet standards that were never yours to begin with. But when you stop seeking approval and start living with authenticity, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing applause and you start experiencing peace. And let me tell you, peace is louder than praise, because peace doesn't depend on others. It's silent but powerful. It's that quiet confidence that says, I know who I am and I'm okay with that. So stop waiting for others to tell you that you're enough. Stop letting their opinions decide your path. Approval may fill your ego, but only authenticity fills your soul. Live in such a way that even if nobody claps for you, your heart still smiles, knowing you stayed true to yourself. Define success yourself, because if you don't, the world will do it for you. And trust me, their version will never satisfy your soul. Society has painted success like a checklist, a degree, a job, a car, a house, a family, and then more and more of everything. But nobody talks about the emptiness that often hides behind those achievements. Nobody tells you that you can have everything: the money, the recognition, the status, and still feel like something is missing. We're taught to chase symbols of success, not the feeling of it. We run after trophies without asking, do I even want this? People climb ladders that lead nowhere meaningful. They collect titles that sound impressive, but feel empty. They build lives that look beautiful on the outside, but feel broken within, because success, as the world defines it, is all about its appearance. But real success, my friend, is about experience. Real success is when you can look at yourself in the mirror and feel proud of the person staring back. It's when your inner peace is not for sale. It's when you can sleep at night knowing you didn't betray your own heart just to fit in. That's the kind of success that doesn't fade with time. It grows deeper with every act of authenticity. Imagine this: you're at a job that pays well, people respect you, but every morning you wake up with that sinking feeling, the one that whispers, "This isn't who I am." That's not success, that's survival. You see, when you define success based on others' expectations, you'll always be chasing, never arriving. But when you define it based on your own values, your own truth, you begin to live from fulfillment, not for it. Maybe for you, success isn't about owning a mansion. Maybe it's about building a peaceful home. Maybe it's not about being famous. Maybe it's about being remembered kindly. Maybe it's not about having everything, but appreciating what you already have. Success is deeply personal. It's not measured by how loud the world applauds, but by how quietly your heart smiles. You don't have to follow the same road as everyone else. You can take a different path, slower, quieter, but truer. Don't let the world tell you what making it means. Define it yourself. Because the moment you do, you stop comparing, you stop competing, and you start living. At the end of the day, success isn't about how far you go, it's about how you remain while getting there. Let your definition of success be one that brings peace, not pressure. Because if you lose your peace in the process of success, then you've already lost. You're not born to fit in. You're born to stand out, to shine in your own unique way. But the moment we come into this world, the world starts teaching us to blend in, to talk like others, think like others, dress like others, and dream like others. Slowly, our originality gets buried under layers of imitation. We become copies of copies, afraid to be different, afraid to be judged. And in trying to fit in, we forget who we really are. Every person is like a musical note, distinct, irreplaceable, and meant to play a part in a greater symphony. But when you try to sound like everyone else, the music of your soul fades. You silence your own melody to match someone else's rhythm. You say what's expected, not what's true. You follow what's safe, not what's meaningful. And yet, the truth is, the world doesn't need another version of them. The world needs you. And look around you. Every great person who changed the world was once called different. They were misunderstood, laughed at, rejected. But they didn't let that break them. They let it build them. They realized that fitting in was comfortable, but it wasn't purposeful. Because comfort never creates change. It's courage that does. And courage always begins where conformity ends. We spend so much of our lives trying to belong. But have you ever wondered what you're belonging to? Sometimes we try so hard to be accepted by people who don't even accept themselves. We hide our true opinions, passions, and quirks just to be liked. We trade authenticity for approval, and in the process lose our joy. The tragedy is not that people won't accept you for who you are. It's that you stop accepting yourself. Being different is not a weakness. It's your strength, your perspective, your voice, your energy. No one else in the entire universe can offer what you can. The fingerprints you carry are proof that your design was never meant to be duplicated. But the fear of being judged keeps us trapped in the cage of sameness. We forget that no one who ever made history was liked by everyone. In fact, the more authentic you are, the fewer people may understand you. But those who do will connect with you deeply. So stop trying to blend into a world that was never designed to recognize your uniqueness. The people who truly belong in your life will celebrate your difference, not shame it. The right people will not need you to shrink to fit into their comfort zones. You were not born to be a shadow, you were born to be light. And light doesn't ask for permission to shine, it just does. When you embrace your uniqueness, something beautiful happens. Life starts aligning. You attract opportunities that match your true nature. You meet people who understand your soul. You stop chasing belonging because you realize you already belong to yourself, to your purpose, to your path. So don't apologize for being different. Don't dim your light because others find it too bright. The world doesn't need your imitation. It needs your authenticity. Fitting in might make you feel safe for a while, but standing out will make you feel alive forever. Learn to say no. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons life will ever teach you. Most of us grow up believing that being kind means always saying yes to every request, every favor, every demand. We're taught that saying no makes us selfish, rude, or ungrateful. And so we say yes even when our heart is screaming no. We overcommit, overextend, and overwhelm ourselves, all in the name of being nice. But here's the truth. Constantly saying yes to others while saying no to yourself isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, your energy, or your peace, you chip away a small part of yourself. You become exhausted, resentful, and disconnected. You start living a life filled with things you don't actually want, just because you were afraid to disappoint someone. But what about the disappointment you feel inside when you ignore your own boundaries? What about the exhaustion that comes from constantly being available for others, but never for yourself? Learning to say no isn't about rejecting people. It's about protecting your peace. It's about knowing your limits, your priorities, and your worth. It's understanding that your time and energy are sacred, and not everyone has earned the right to access them. When you start saying no to things that drain you, you create space for things that grow you. Think about how often we say yes out of fear. Fear of being disliked, fear of conflict, fear of being judged. But the moment you base your decisions on fear, you hand your power over to others. You start living reactively, not intentionally. A yes born out of fear will always cost more than a no born out of self-respect. Saying no doesn't make you unkind. It makes you clear. It shows that you value honesty over approval. The people who truly love and respect you will understand your no because they care about your well-being, not just your usefulness. Those who get angry or distant when you set boundaries were never truly with you. They were only with the version of you that served them. When you learn to say no, you also learn something beautiful. You start saying yes to yourself. You say yes to rest, yes to peace, yes to your dreams, yes to your mental health. You realize that every no to something unaligned is actually a yes to something meaningful. You stop trying to be everything for everyone and start becoming someone for yourself. The truth is, saying yes to everything is a form of fear disguised as love. But love, real love, sometimes requires a no. Because love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's control, it's expectation, it's exhaustion. Saying no doesn't close doors, it opens the right ones. It filters your life, it clarifies your relationships. It helps you see who's meant to walk beside you and who's only there for convenience. And you'll notice something magical happens when you begin to practice this. Your energy shifts. You start to breathe easier. You feel lighter. You're no longer living out of obligation, but out of intention. You start making choices that reflect your truth not someone else's pressure. So the next time your heart hesitates before saying yes, listen to it. That hesitation is wisdom. It's your inner self asking for protection. Don't silence it just to please others. Because in trying to make everyone else happy, you might end up losing the only person who truly matters. You say no when you mean no. It's not rejection, it's redirection toward what really matters. It's not selfish, it's self-care. The world might not always understand your no, but your soul always will. And that's the approval that truly counts. Follow inner fulfillment, not outer pressure. Because the world will always tell you what you should do, but your heart quietly whispers what you're meant to do. And most people spend their entire lives chasing the loud voice of the world while ignoring the gentle wisdom of their own soul. We grow up being told what success looks like, what happiness should feel like, what path we're supposed to follow, and without realizing it, we begin to live a life that pleases everyone except ourselves. Outer pressure is powerful. It comes dressed as responsibility, tradition, culture, comparison, or expectation. It sounds convincing. You should have achieved this by now. You should get married. You should buy a house. You should be doing better. And so we run. We run faster, we work harder, we chase stronger. But no matter how much we accomplish, the finish line keeps moving. There's always more to do, more to earn, more to prove. And at the end of it all, we sit there, surrounded by things, yet starving for meaning. Inner fulfillment, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't scream for attention, it waits patiently for you to listen. It's that deep, peaceful feeling you get when you're aligned with your purpose, when what you do, what you think, and what you feel all move in the same direction. It's not about what looks right from the outside, it's about what feels right from the inside. But because the world rewards achievement, not alignment, we often ignore that inner call. We silence our instincts with logic. We trade passion for practicality. We choose safety over satisfaction. And yet something inside us keeps tugging, a soft, persistent reminder that we're meant for more than this. Not more in quantity, but more in ends quality. You can have a job that pays well, but if it drains your soul every day, it's not success, it's sacrifice. You can have thousands of followers, but if your heart feels empty, it's not fulfillment, it's noise. The world tells you to keep climbing, but your heart says, find stillness. The world tells you to get more, but your soul whispers, feel more. Fulfillment isn't found in reaching the top, it's found in being true to who you are at every step. There is a story that plays out in so many lives. People spend decades building a tower of achievements, only to realize they've been climbing the wrong wall. Because they followed outer pressure, not inner peace. They achieved everything society respects, but lost everything their soul needed. They forgot that fulfillment doesn't come from applause, but from alignment. When you begin to follow your inner fulfillment, life starts to flow differently. Decisions become lighter. Work feels meaningful. Time doesn't drag, it dances. Because you're no longer forcing yourself to live by someone else's map. You're finally walking your own path. The outer world might not understand it. They might call you crazy, lazy, or unrealistic. But that's okay. Fulfillment isn't about being understood. It's about being whole. And remember, pressure from the world will always exist. There will always be expectations, comparisons, and demands. But you get to choose what voice you listen to. You can either keep chasing external approval or start cultivating internal peace. You can either keep performing for others or start living for yourself. At the end of the day, it's not the pressure that defines your life, it's the direction. Outer pressure pushes you to impress. Inner fulfillment guides you to express. Outer pressure wants you to compete. Inner fulfillment helps you create. One drains you, the other sustains you. So pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I doing this because it fulfills me or because it pleases others? Because one path leads to temporary applause, the other leads to lifelong peace. And when you begin to follow what truly fulfills you, you'll realize something profound. You were never behind. You were just becoming aligned. Let go of guilt. Because guilt is one of the heaviest burdens the heart can carry, and yet so many of us walk around dragging it like invisible chains. We feel guilty for saying no, guilty for resting, guilty for choosing ourselves, guilty for outgrowing people we once loved, guilty for following a path that others don't understand. But the truth is, you cannot live freely while carrying the weight of everyone's expectations on your back. Guilt is not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's often a sign that you're finally doing something right for yourself. Most of the guilt we feel doesn't come from harming others. It comes from disappointing them. There's a big difference. We mistake self-respect for selfishness. We confuse self-care with neglect. We believe that if others aren't happy with our choices, then we must have done something wrong. But think about it. How can you make everyone happy and still be true to yourself? You can't. Every time you choose your peace over their pressure, someone might misunderstand you. But misunderstanding is temporary. Self-betrayal is permanent. The moment you start living according to your own truth, guilt will try to pull you back. It's the mind's way of saying, wait, this is new. This doesn't feel familiar. Because for so long, you've been trained to put others before you, to please, to serve, to sacrifice. But love that doesn't include you isn't love, it's martyrdom. You can't keep giving from an empty cup and expect to feel whole. Letting go of guilt means accepting that your happiness is not a crime. You have every right to protect your energy, to change your mind, to walk away from what no longer serves you. You have every right to say, I need time, or I can't do this anymore, without feeling like you owe an explanation for choosing peace. You are not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. You are only responsible for living with integrity, for doing what aligns with your values and your growth. We've been conditioned to believe that being a good person means being available, agreeable, and accommodating all the time. But real goodness isn't about never saying no. It's about being honest and compassionate, both to others and to yourself. Guilt tries to convince you that you're hurting people by setting boundaries. But in reality, boundaries are what keep relationships healthy. They allow love to exist without resentment. The people who truly care about you will never make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. They'll understand that your peace benefits everyone around you. Because when you're centered, calm, and happy, you show up as a better friend, partner, parent, and human being. But when you're exhausted and resentful, even your kindness loses its purity. Letting go of guilt is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about releasing the emotional manipulation that keeps you small. It's about realizing that guilt is a tool often used by others and by our own inner critic to keep us stuck in old patterns. You can feel compassion for others without carrying their emotional weight. You can love people deeply without losing yourself in the process. Sometimes guilt also comes from the past, mistakes, regrets, words you wish you could take back. But you must understand, guilt doesn't heal the past, it only poisons the present. Forgive yourself for the version of you who didn't know better. Forgive yourself for the moments you acted out of fear instead of wisdom. Growth is proof that you've learned. You don't need to keep punishing yourself for something that helped you evolve. When you finally release guilt, you start to breathe again. You begin to feel lighter. Decisions become clearer. You no longer live to avoid disapproval. You live to honor your truth. And that's when real freedom begins. Because guilt thrives in fear but fades in awareness. So, let go. Let go of the guilt that tells you you're not enough. Let go of the guilt that says choosing yourself means betraying others. Let go of the guilt that keeps you chained to an old version of you. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself just so they can feel comfortable. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to be happy. You are allowed to choose peace without apology. Because the moment you let go of guilt, you don't just free yourself, you inspire others to do the same. You remind the world that loving yourself isn't a sin, it's a necessity. Silence the noise. Because in today's world, noise has become the background music of our lives. Everywhere you go, something is demanding your attention. The buzzing of your phone, the endless notifications, the constant opinions, the comparisons, the news, the pressure to keep up. It's as if we live in a world that's afraid of silence. Because silence forces us to face ourselves. But the truth is, the answers we are searching for are rarely found in noise. They are found in quiet. We've become so used to external stimulation that we've forgotten how to listen inward. We scroll through other people's lives, constantly measuring our worth against their highlights. We let social media tell us who we should be, what success should look like, what happiness should feel like. We wake up, check our phones, and immediately step into a world of noise. Messages, opinions, judgments, expectations, all before we've even said good morning to our own thoughts. And yet, deep down, something feels off. Because no matter how much we consume, that feeling of emptiness doesn't go away. That's the soul reminding you, you're not supposed to live like this. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of awareness. It's a sacred space where the mind slows down and the heart begins to speak. But we fear it because in silence, we can no longer hide behind distractions. The noise outside keeps us from hearing the noise within. The unhealed wounds, the doubts, the truth we keep avoiding. That's why many people fill their days with activity, entertainment, and conversation. They're not busy living, they're busy avoiding. When you choose silence, even for a few minutes, something magical happens. You start to see clearly. You begin to separate your voice from the voices of others. You realize how many of your choices were made not from authenticity, but from influence. Silence becomes the mirror in which your soul shows you what truly matters. It helps you reconnect with your intuition, your purpose, and your peace. The world praises productivity, but it's in stillness that true direction is born. Without silence, you can be very busy and still feel lost. Because movement without mindfulness is just distraction disguised as progress. When you quiet the outer world, the inner world becomes louder, your instincts become sharper, your emotions make sense, your thoughts find order. That's when clarity is born. We think we need more information to make better decisions, but most of the time, we just need less noise. Silence teaches you to stop reacting and start responding. It teaches patience, it deepens presence, and it heals what chaos cannot touch. That's why so many ancient traditions, philosophers, and thinkers spoke about the power of stillness, because they understood that silence is not empty, it's full of answers. You don't need to go to the mountains or sit in a cave to find silence. It can be found in simple moments. A quiet walk without your phone, sitting under a tree, watching the sunset, or just closing your eyes for a few minutes and breathing. Those moments are not wasted time, they're sacred resets. They allow your nervous system to rest and your mind to recalibrate. But remember, when you first step into silence, it may feel uncomfortable. You might feel restless, anxious, or even bored. That's normal. It's the withdrawal symptoms of a noisy life. Give it time. The discomfort is not a sign that silence isn't working. It's a sign that it is. You're detoxing from overstimulation. And once you get past that layer, you'll find peace so deep that even chaos outside can't shake it. Silence teaches you to stop chasing validation and start hearing your own truth. It helps you realize that not every opinion needs a response, not every conflict deserves energy, and not every moment requires noise. You begin to understand that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create by turning down the volume of the world and tuning into yourself. So make silence your daily ritual, not as an escape from life, but as a return to it. Let silence guide you back to clarity, to presence, to authenticity. Because in silence, you stop being pulled by the world and start being led by your soul. And maybe that's what we've been missing all along. Not more things to hear, but more space to listen. When the noise fades and the world grows still, that's when you finally remember who you are. Courage to disappoint others. That's one of the hardest forms of bravery a person can ever practice. Because it's not about facing danger, it's about facing disapproval. It's about standing your ground when the world expects you to bow. Most people don't realize it, but so much of our suffering doesn't come from what others do to us. It comes from our fear of what they'll think of us. We're so terrified of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood that we end up living lives that don't even belong to us. We say yes when our heart says no, we smile when we're breaking inside, and we carry the weight of others' expectations until we forget what freedom feels like. The truth is, if you want to live authentically, you will disappoint someone. You might disappoint your parents by not following their dream. You might disappoint your friends by setting boundaries. You might disappoint your boss by choosing balance over burnout. You might disappoint society by choosing simplicity over status. But here's the thing, disappointment is temporary, but self-betrayal lasts a lifetime. Every time you betray your own heart to keep others happy, a piece of you quietly dies. And one day, you wake up and realize that you've become everything others wanted you to be, except yourself. Having the courage to disappoint others doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop letting their opinions control your life. It's not rebellion, it's self-respect. It's the recognition that no one else has to live inside your mind, your emotions, your dreams, your body. Only you do. And if you must carry the consequences of your choices, shouldn't those choices at least be your own? The fear of disappointing others often begins in childhood. We were rewarded for obedience, not authenticity. We were taught to be good, even when it meant silencing our truth. We learned that love was conditional, given only when we met expectations. So, as adults, we confuse approval with affection. We think if people are happy with us, we're safe. But safety built on pretending is a prison. Because the moment you start living by other people's definitions of good, you stop growing into your own greatness. It takes tremendous strength to say, I know you may not understand my choice, but it's right for me. That sentence is the voice of self-trust. It's not defiance, it's maturity. Because courage is not about fighting others, it's about standing peacefully in your truth. Even when others walk away, you'll realize that some people only love you as long as you make them comfortable. The moment you choose differently, they may call you selfish or difficult. But that's only because your courage exposes their fear. Your independence challenges their control. Disappointing others is not failure. It's evidence that you're finally prioritizing alignment over approval. You're learning that peace is better than perfection. That truth is better than acceptance. And that real love doesn't demand that you shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone. The people meant for you will not leave when you honor your truth. They'll respect you more for it. You see, living with courage doesn't mean you don't care what people think. It means their opinions no longer